everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. I woke the cat up as I loudly did this intro. Sorry, Squee. Can I ask a question? This is probably more something that belongs on my other podcast that I do with my wife, Couples Therapy, but how, if you have children, listeners, how do you do it? And what I mostly mean by that question is logistically. How do you have these other beings that you cart around from place to place? Forget the rest of it. Forget the child rearing and the instilling ethical values and all that kind of stuff. Just the actual transportation of living beings from one place to another. I cannot. So I had to take Squee in this morning for his chemotherapy. He gets chemotherapy every 3 weeks. He's in remission, folks. He has small cell gastrointestinal lymphoma, but he still has to have the chemotherapy to stay in remission. And Naomi has a writing job at the moment, so I am home, and when I'm not writing, actually, let me do it the other way. I was about to say, when I'm not writing, I'm watching the animals. It's really when I'm not watching the animals or having to do something with them, then I get an hour maybe on my own to write. But Mabel, our dog, gets very anxious if we leave her alone, so I'm taking Squee to the vet. I have to have Mabel in tow, and I can't leave her in a hot car. What am I, a commercial from 1973? When they thought it was okay to leave dogs in cars, and then they had to do a commercial? And they're like, hey, fuckface, don't leave your dog in the car, it's hot. And just the act of having to, squeeze in his carrier, Mabel's on her leash, I've got my little tote bag, I gotta put my mask on, all this shit. And these are just animals. Obviously, Squee is in a bag, he can't really do much, but Mabel's tugging, pulling, wants to smell this, wants to pee over here, wants to pee over there. How do you do this with beings that can talk and kind of wander off on their own? How? I was listening to an old You Must Remember This series on Polly Platt, the film producer who had been married to Peter Bogdanovich, and they had been producing partners up until Bogdanovich had an affair with Sybil Shepherd. But in this one episode, they're relying heavily on Polly Platt's unpublished memoir. And there's an excerpt where she describes, after she had kind of kicked Peter to the curb, she describes going to the supermarket with the two children and having to have, she had, I think it was an infant at the time and a toddler, and she has two carts because the toddler is in one, and it really hit home for me, everyone. Anyway, that's where I am emotionally. I hope you are in a similar or better space. And if you're not, I gotta tell you, today's episode is gonna put you there. Why? Who is it? Folks, today I'm talking to Madeline Link. And if you don't know who Madeline is, I'm going to tell you her bio right now. Originally from Calgary, musician Madeline Link initially started PAX as a solo project, but it eventually coalesced into its current 4-piece configuration. In 2020, they were signed to Fire Talk Records, and the label has since released all 4 of their albums and EPs. This includes 2021's Take the Cake, 2023's Crispy Crunchy Nothing, and their latest, Melt the Honey, which came out towards the end of January and is just wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. I've been listening to it over and over since it came out, and so I reached out to Madeline. I was like, hey, you want to be on the show? And we talk about some very interesting stuff. Ambition, as always, dreams, desires, wants, all of that usual existential stuff, plus House Hunters International, and we kind of get into some lyric writing. I am back to writing songs. I think I want to release an album this year, maybe with my old songwriting partner. And so it's been on my mind a lot. I think I talked about it a little bit with Andrew Kenny last time. And also I just find it fascinating what someone wants to write about and how that connects with a lot of the themes that I talk about on this show. So I hope you enjoy this talk. If you've never heard PAX before, I hope you check them out. And also, if this is your first episode of Beginnings, welcome. What I like to do here in the beginning is a little recommended if you like. I've been doing this show over 14 years now. I've talked to hundreds of musicians and writers and performers and actors and directors, etc., etc., etc. That's a lot to go through, so what I like to do here is recommend some people based on my guest today. Maybe you're here because you just like musicians in general. Maybe you like Madeline's music. So why not check out other episodes I've done with musicians? Like I think I mentioned, Andrew Kenny from the American Analog set was just on last week. Just recently, I've talked to Will Oldham, Andrew Savage, I think we mentioned that in this episode, from Parquet Courts, Tanya Donnelly, Evan Dando, Rod Argent, the founder of The Zombies, has been on. Mary Timony, she has an album coming out soon. I talked to her a couple years ago. That was great. You know what else is great? All the jokes and stuff that I post on social media. Maybe great's too much of too exaggerated a word. But anyway, you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky and I guess Twitter at Andy Beckerman. Also, I have a Substack. It's free. I basically write philosophy with some jokes sprinkled in there to, spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. And I just put up a fairly lengthy essay that I think kind of gets to the heart of why everything feels so insane these days. If you're interested, it's at theslowdystopia.substack.com. Again, it's free, so check it out. I talk about Hegel and also the Ghostbusters, so there you go. And coming up on the show, awesome talk with Mark Robinson, that is the founder of Teen Beat Records from Unrest. That was cool. Dan Abnett, fantastic comics writer. We had an amazing talk. So look forward to those. But for now, let's talk to Madeline.
I started listening to one of the podcasts while I was the A Savage one.
Yeah.
While I was working, like I was helping my boyfriend's friend, like we were clearing like trees on his neighbor's terrain, like land. But it was so loud that so I heard the intro and I loved the intro. And then I think the work finished and I didn't even get to the interview. The
actual intro where I just say something cynical about however the world is at that moment. And then the bio of the artist.
Yes.
Which I usually try to find online. Sometimes there are people. So for people who maybe are newer like yourself, I have not found a lot of biographical information. I have found 2 facts. You are either from Ottawa. I don't know about originally, but definitely you lived in Ottawa. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay.
I lived there.
But where are you from originally?
I was born in Calgary.
Okay, Calgary.
Yes.
Olympics. The home place of my friend's mother from childhood.
Oh.
Those are the 2 facts. One has nothing to do with any other human being. And then your dad was in a band. Those are the only 2 facts I could find online.
In Calgary.
In Calgary.
Yeah.
Was it a big band? I mean, I don't mean a big band like, was it like a big jazz band from the 1920s? I mean, were they popular, or was it just like, this is something your dad did, after work?
Yeah, he definitely did it after work. And they played they were one of those bands that's kind of like the funnest band to go and see, where they're not, really concerned with commercial success. They're just I really just want to have fun. And so then the audience always had fun. I can hear it, and there's one of their shows is recorded, and it might be the night that I was due or something. All I know is, or that I wasn't due, but that I ended up coming out and he was playing.
Wait. Okay. So, but you were, it wasn't like your mom was like, I'm going into labor, and your dad's like, I got a set. When I'm done, we'll go to the hospital. It was a surprise.
Yeah. It was. I was late.
Okay. Yeah. And then he decided to play I can't tell whether this is a good or bad thing in your parents' marriage.
I think it's good, but I don't remember the whole, I don't remember the details of the story clearly.
Okay.
But all I know is that the recordings of my dad's band it sounds like everyone's having a pretty great time. And they have lots of, also a discography, they have tons of cassettes and stuff. And I know that my mom wasn't upset that he was playing a show around when I gave birth. I don't know if it was the night that I gave birth.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay. But I was just trying to figure out if this was for your dad, because, I try to look at the way that people's parents are and then how you develop in relation to that. And so I'm trying to figure out if this was this an obsession? Was this something that your dad wanted to actually do professionally and it never materialized for him? What was going on with him playing in a band?
He played in a band because that was pretty much the only thing that he actually wanted to do with his time. But he had to pay the bills with my mom. And yeah, he just, anytime he wasn't working, he was doing, researching music, going to the record store, playing records, writing songs, playing music. And he had lots of band practice when I was a kid in Calgary in the basement. But then when we moved to Ottawa, he didn't have the same musical community. So now he still makes music. He just released an album of his own that my mom engineered for him and mixed. He just released it last Friday. So
this is something he enjoys doing. Was there ever a point where he was trying to do it professionally? Or was it always this, I have a family, I got to support them, and then I'm going to have fun?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, that was always it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you never, because I'm just, I always think a lot about, even if your parents aren't explicit, I always wonder if kids pick up on their regrets and things like that. And so I was trying to suss out whether this was something your dad had regretted not pursuing in a more professional way, or if it's this is the level I'm happy with, love having a family, love making music on the side. I don't need to be opening for the Rolling Stones or whatever.
No. In fact, I think he actually he clocks when there's a front man who's a dad who was a bad dad due to the success of his career. He it'll make him stop liking a band. I won't name any names. But yeah, he definitely disrespects bad dads.
Hey, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them in every industry. I see terrible parents. They don't think they're terrible. Yeah. But I see in my own industry, they're probably loving to their kids. There's nothing wrong with the way they interact with their kids. But the kids are definitely an afterthought to their own existential desires. And they thought that they could pursue whatever, acting, stand-up, professional writing, and have a kid at the same time, when really it seems like if you have a kid, you got to pretty much devote the real time to the kid, and then the other
bring
thing.
The priority of the passion project to a lower level.
Yeah.
Demote that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, but you had a great dad, great childhood. Question mark?
Yeah.
What's Calgary like? I don't know anything about Calgary.
There until I was 3. So I just remember the tile floor of the kitchen.
So Ottawa's really where you formed as a person. Ottawa's the place, and that's what, outside of Montreal.
It's just a big suburb of Montreal.
Okay. I looked at a map. I've only ever been to Montreal. My wife was at Just for Laughs years ago, and so we went there. So I only really know Montreal, and only for 4 days of wandering around.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was great, but wandering around making jokes about
the
how disgusting the founder of Just for Laughs is, and looking for vegetarian food.
Oh.
Or the booker. Sorry. I think everyone. I think a lot of people involved in the structure of Just for Laughs are sex criminals, if I remember correctly.
Oh, gosh. That sounds like not something that you want to be involved with.
Well, it used to be a thing that could make your career.
Right.
It used to be a thing that you would go and come out of it with a development deal or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then by the time my wife was a new face, which was 2016, that was kind of just like, it was just a thing you put on your bio. It didn't really result in the kind of career boost that it used to.
Like kind of like South by Southwest.
Is that what it's like now? It used to be like a huge thing, and now it's just like, well, I played South by Southwest this year.
Well, I think it can be a career boost if it's predetermined that it will be a career boost before you go. Like
how?
If there's a label that wants to make a meal of them signing you, like when we were there, Wednesday, the band.
Sorry, it was in my head. I was just like, you mean the TV show with Jenna Ortega? I know of the band. Yes, I don't.
They played at a show that our friends Wombo played at. They were playing later. And anyway, like they were playing at like all of these events that we like basically just missed, and like we heard a rumor that they're like they got signed on the spot, and me and my bandmates were all like, oh my god, that's so crazy. And then I think I mentioned it to someone, and they're like, that doesn't happen. Like that's not true.
That's like an old school kind of Hollywood rumor, where like, some actress from the 1940s was at Schwab's and a producer saw her and signed her to a 5-picture deal at Paramount or something like that.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Gave her the pen and everything.
It's like, don't people have to have like lawyers look over contracts and things like that? I don't think I guess people could sign a contract on the spot and be exploited very badly.
Yeah, very badly. Like Josie and the Pussycats.
Like Josie and the Pussycats.
That movie, every musician should see that movie.
So did you grow up with dreams of being a musician? Or, I don't know. I guess I don't have an or in there. Did you want something else for yourself?
I didn't have really any... I think I wanted to be an interior designer.
Interesting.
Because I loved watching TLC, like Trading Spaces, While You Were Out, like just design shows. House Hunters.
House Hunters International is a huge hit in this household.
It's so much fun to watch. I think that's the one show that I could watch like endless episodes of that show and never feel like turning the TV off.
Yeah, we do. It's also part of our escape plan when the United States becomes outright fascist, which very well might happen in my lifetime. We are like, okay, where do we go? People here seem to be having fun in New Zealand. I think that's okay. I think that might be an okay place. I think we can.
Oh, I thought you were gonna sign up to be on the show. That was your escape plan.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've learned how the show is made, and the people in it, I hope this doesn't spoil it for you. The people in it have already moved, and they're kind of recreating.
I know.
Okay.
I did a project on House Hunters in high school to reveal to my classmates that was the case.
How did they take it? Did they all freak out?
They were all kind of like, I could have guessed that. I was like, yeah, and guess what? Pimp My Ride? They take all the TVs out of the car after. They take all the flaming mufflers off. It's just for TV.
It's very disappointing to move to Los Angeles and then the artifice of all of it is stripped away, and you're just like, oh, literally every molecule of this is fake.
Do you live in LA?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. So you're used to it now?
No. I think I am still, maybe I'm just naive, but I am still, every time I hear of another bit of I'm sorry, I'm like in my head because I'm just like literally anything I can hear, like, oh, this actor that you like is actually a terrible piece of shit, and I will be surprised.
Yeah.
Or, oh, this show that you thought at least this part of it was real is fake. I will be surprised. There's very little where I'm very cynical about a lot of things, but I think I'm also hopeful that at least some of the world that we live in is not garbage and
it's genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem like a genuine person yourself. You seem like someone I think we're on the same wavelength. At least your music resonates with me, so I assume we are somewhat on the same wavelength.
Thank you. I hope you're safe in assuming that too. I think so.
Are you a hopeful person?
Yes, I think so.
Is that self-generated? Is that just you have enough serotonin in your system and so it just naturally occurs in your body, or where is it coming from?
Now there is because I'm relaxed.
Okay.
And I'm like, I wouldn't call it vacation, but I'm not living in I'm not living in Canada right now. It's not winter where I am. So, there have definitely been times when I don't feel as, optimistic. And that's generally, if my health is not doing very well, or I'm not treating myself properly.
Do you just mean getting a cold or something, or are you dealing with a chronic illness?
No, maybe a cold, but more so I found when I was going on tour a lot, my health really was not very good because
are you saying
I'm not nourished? Traveling
from city to city during a pandemic, going in new large crowds is bad for your health?
I might be onto something with that. Yeah, bad things happen.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to make the audience mask? Deerhoof does that. I've noticed that they seem to be able to get their audience in most places to mostly mask. And I'm just my wife, when she does stand-up shows, when she's the headliner, she tries to get people to mask.
Oh, see, yes, that is important. If you're sick, don't go to a show. Well, but people just forgot that courtesy that so many Asian cultures just have built in, where they're oh, if I feel I need to go out, I'll still wear a mask. That just doesn't happen, I don't think. But I meant more in terms of nourishment and sleep, the lack of nourishment, the lack of sleep. It's not getting a cold. It's maybe you contract some sort of, I got sick on the Slow Pulp tour, couldn't eat or drink anything for a while.
Oh no.
Gastritis, not good vibes.
Oh no. I also was I was trying to think, I'm oh, maybe you were talking about mental health, almost
that too.
Almost oh yeah, I'm feeling okay. I feel hopeful. I've got enough Lexapro in my system to feel hopeful at the moment.
What's that?
Antidepressant.
Oh, yeah, the sun just makes me happy. Being in the sun. But yeah, I feel physical health goes hand in hand with mental health. So, yeah, when I have good physical health, good mental health, I can be optimistic. But I feel that's why there's so many people that have anxiety and I don't know, because they can't properly nutrition themselves.
I like that. They can't properly nutrition themselves. But it seems like you grew up in a family where your parents, I don't know if this is true, I'm going to pose this as a possibility. Your parents held you up to the sun and said, you can be anything you want.
I think they did that. I do.
So how did that affect, you said interior designer, but did you actually take classes? Did you do anything artistic in order to go in that direction? Or it was just a kind of feeling in your body where you're oh, that'd be fun.
The interior designer thing? Yeah, I definitely didn't do any courses for that. I would just draw couches, draw rooms that looked, and Sims 2 really helped with that trajectory. But other than playing Sims 2, even just going, being in high school and stuff, I didn't really think too much about what courses I should take to do anything, because I didn't have any specific idea. at all.
Was there any kind of pressure pushing you in a certain direction, or you were just literally allowed to kind of like float around?
I applied to university to be for architecture, like landscape and design, and like integrated media, and maybe something else. But like, I was like, oh yeah, I guess architecture does follow through with the theme of interior design, kind of. But yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah. Was it like just a feeling of like, yeah, that would be fun, I guess I could do that? There was no like burning flame. I'm assuming for music, as someone who writes music and puts out albums, that there is some kind of what I will call the burning flame, in the same way that that for me, like when I do anything, like whether it's music or whether it is writing or making a video or something like that, there's like this thing in my chest that's kind of like pushing me. I don't know where it manifests in your body, but I'm assuming that there wasn't that for architecture, but there is that for music.
I don't know. I feel like maybe burning flame.
I know it's.
I don't know. I don't know if I get that when I'm writing music. Maybe when I'm like really hot, like I'm on fire. Maybe like with lyrics or something like that. Mm. But like I didn't like I just was always writing music like throughout high school and stuff as packs. So it was like I never felt like any insane. I didn't feel insane about it. I was just like, I'm like doing it. You know? Does that make sense?
It does. I guess I get it. I mean, I understand it. I don't know if I can intellectually understand it. I don't. Well, I'm curious. Like, are you someone who is expressive in general? Do you allow your emotions out? Were you raised in a household where you could express yourself? Where if you were sad, you could cry, and your parents would be like, "Oh, it's okay," as opposed to like, "Don't cry."
I could definitely cry because I remember. I think I know what a burning flame in my chest vibe I got was when I didn't get a math problem right. That made me cry. Like when I couldn't understand a concept. And so I think because I did like creative writing in university, and I think the most excited that I get like creatively is when I'm like researching for like a paper, or like when I'm writing an essay and I get to explore, like pick a topic or like a concept and then like go as far, like as absolutely far as the research takes me until like you're somewhere totally that doesn't make any sense at all. Mm-hmm. Like I like that element of being creative.
And you were allowed, I guess what I'm trying to get a picture of is when you were younger, mm-hmm. were you, I'll give myself as an example.
Yeah.
Just because that I'm having trouble articulating exactly what I'm trying to get at. I was always very repressed emotionally.
Okay.
And I think that repression came out in my creative work, where I didn't feel like I could say what I was actually feeling, or whatever I was feeling had to be hidden under layers of absurd or surrealist lyrics. Say if I was writing a song or the characters in my scripts or sketches or whatever, their emotions were always covered up with jokes, and there could never be any real moments in any of this stuff. Okay. And then as I got to be an adult and I went through therapy and I just matured as a human being, all that stuff I started to relax a little bit, and that stuff kind of flowed out a little better. And I'm just curious if you grew up in a way where you could say what you were feeling or what was on your mind without there being repercussions. Not just, crying if something, if you didn't get a quadratic equation correct or whatever. But like, if you were feeling anxious, you could tell your parents you were feeling anxious, or your friends you were feeling anxious, and they would get it. As opposed to kind of being like, I don't want to hear that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, like, I've never done therapy, so I've never, like, delved too much into, like, how comfortable I felt, like, expressing myself as a kid or a teenager. Yeah. But I think when I was, like, frustrated, like, as a kid, it would be about like simple stuff. So I would be able to like express my sadness. Sometimes I had no idea why I was sad, and that was like I would be like, I don't know why I'm even sad right now, but I'm just sad. And my mom would be like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. She's like a really, kind of like, if there's no reason for you to be sad, why are you sad?
I know that. That's not my parents, but I know those parents.
I mean, it wasn't like, she wasn't like, inconsiderate, but it was kind of just like, for her, it's like, things just make sense for her.
Yeah.
I think.
Matter of fact, everything has to be rational.
Yeah, she's rational. That's it. Yeah, and my dad maybe is a bit irrational sometimes.
Interesting.
So...
Well, then how did their marriage work, if you don't mind me asking?
It's like a volcano erupting in an ocean, and then an island is created.
I love that metaphor. What does that mean practically?
I don't know. They're like kind of opposites, but they have lots of fun together.
Okay. And you grew up on that island, on the volcanic island, on the island of magma in the middle of the sea.
Yes, with my sister.
Okay. Were you guys allowed to be creative? Did they give you opportunities to be creative,
yes.
Or did you have to find the stuff on your own?
Oh my gosh. No, there were so many opportunities. Like, my dad has lots and lots of fun instruments. Like, when we were younger, there would be all sorts of crazy jams and stuff, and we could play the instruments, and then we both learned how to play the guitar. He had a bass guitar. He got like a drum set from the music store, like when we were in our teens. And my sister went to like a rock camp, that like a girls' rock camp, and she started playing in this band with the girls that she met there. And that's how she started like playing live music. And then we went to see her whenever she played. And it was so fun. And then she moved to Toronto and like didn't have a band and was writing music herself. And she wanted to have like she wanted to play live, because I think she missed the experience of that. And then I was like, let me be your drummer, because we had fun playing music together in the basement. And that's how I started playing music live. Although in high school, me and my friends, we practiced Easy Rider by Ty Segall?
Vaguely.
Doesn't really matter. Anyway, we just we chose a song, and then we like perfected it, and we performed it in our high school auditorium. And that was like, we did it. We went to Toys R Us and bought like a miniature kids drum kit. And like my dad had this tiny guitar he found at the thrift store. We had like a tiny bass. I don't know how we got all these tiny instruments, and we all played this like huge high school stage. We all clustered into the middle of the stage and played. And then as the song was going, we were like we were expanding. Like, we just started moving in really weird ways. It was very fun.
How did that go over? Because on one hand, I know Ty Segall is more like kind of rock type stuff.
Yeah.
So I assume that would go over well in a school. On the other hand, you're playing toy instruments. So and you said moving in odd ways. So I'm imagining some kind of modern dance performance at the same time. So I have to imagine that this vacillates between kind of like standard rock type stuff that most people could kind of nod their head to and strange. What's going on? And in a high school, that seems... I'm curious how that functioned.
I went to an arts high school.
Okay. So they were used to. They're like,
that explains everything.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we know who Klaus Nomi is.
I actually have heard that name, but I don't know who that is.
I think
is that a choreographer?
What I'm learning here in this conversation is that I think you are mid-20s, right? Yeah.
I'm actually late 20s. I'm 27.
Okay, late 20s. So I'm about 15 years older than you, and I that's enough of a difference that all of our references are off. Where I know the band, I've heard the band Wednesday, I've heard Ty Segall before, and yet it's enough space where we're throwing references at each other, and they're like kind of like it's like in a action film where like the knife just whizzes past the person's head. Yeah,
which is actually really a cool thing.
So you went to an arts high school. So it seems like there was, I don't want to say it's overdetermined that this is what you would do, but it seems like there are so many factors in your life that are pushing you towards making music. Between your dad being in a band, playing in jams, going to an arts high school, your sister moving to Toronto to play music, and then you eventually joining her. It seems like there's a lot of things in your life kind of like nudging you in a certain direction.
Yes.
Was it ever a choice at some point? Or has it always been, and this is not a negative thing, by the way, it could always been like, yeah, I just got on the surfboard and the wave took me, and I've been enjoying the ride.
It was never something that I thought twice about, really. Like, when I was continuing to write songs after I moved to Toronto, and I was like playing with my sister, but I was writing the songs, and she was like, well, I can't really perform those songs because like the chords you're doing are weird, and like I don't like play that way. She's like, that's a totally different style than my style. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I would like to play these live, but I didn't really ever think that I wanted my songs to be able to translate to live music. And I find that honestly, like, recorded music and live music are so different. Like, the purposes are so different that it's really like, I feel like it kind of trips people up sometimes if they think too hard about it. It's like, oh, how are we going to play this live? Well, let's just not do it then. Or like, oh, like, we did this live, so it'll probably sound awesome in the recording. And then you do it and it's like, doesn't sound the same. Like, it's so strange how they are just so separate.
Yeah. But because I wonder if this is just a commercial thing. Like, this is, well, we live in a capitalist, I was going to say society, but civilization at this point. Like, literally every facet, every cell in our bodies, every mitochondria, every subatomic particle is bought and sold. But I wonder if that is part of it, where you have to, you're like, well, all right, I made this album. Now I have to go play it live because there's no other way to make money at this point.
Oh, no. I just wanted to play the songs live.
No, not you personally. Sorry. I didn't mean to be like accusatory about you. I just meant in general, there is this thought.
You mean in general, when people write songs, they're like, now I have to go.
Yeah. Like,
on tour.
If that is what they're doing primarily, you know, whenever I've been in a band or written music, it's always been kind of like a thing on the side, or we never thought it was a thing to do professionally. So everything was done in the studio, and then afterwards, we're like, if we wanted to play it live, we would just figure out, okay, what are the important parts? Because this is like there's 20 tracks on this, and there's only 4 of us. So okay, what's the stuff? What's the like core of the song that we think is important, or how are we going to switch between keyboards? We had built. I was used to be in a Casio pop band, and it was all old keyboards, like a small drum kit, an acoustic guitar, and a bunch of Casios.
Whoa.
Anyway, the point is that it was always like for me, it was always a studio creation. Like this, I'm building the song in the studio, and the live part was an afterthought. I wonder if today, for a lot of people, the things are so entwined, live and writing the music and playing it live, because that's one of the primary ways to make money if you're a musician. If there's something, I don't know. You said yourself, it doesn't bother you, or it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect how you write the music.
No, not really. But yeah, people do be fretting.
You seem very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Chill, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Is that just today because you're on vacation? You said you're not in Canada. The weather is nice, or is that in general kind of like the way you are as a person?
I definitely don't like to be frenzied. Like I prefer to be at this level at all time, most of the time. Yeah.
Was that the way you were when you were a kid?
No, I think when I was a kid, I don't know. When I was a kid, I think I liked being relaxed, but I probably wanted to play with my friends all the time. And if my friends were like, I can't play, like I have homework, I was like, what? Like, I have homework too, but we have to play. Like, it's still light outside. Let's play Cops and Robbers or something. Like, you can do homework later.
So has that translated? Is that now with your bandmates? Are you like, why are we not playing all the time? Or do you think you have found other ways to expel that energy?
Oh, well, I think playing music, like I love when we all live in the same place, and when we were able to do, like, have more shows and practice more often. But like, I'm not really itching to play shows. Like, I've never really itched to play shows. It's like when we have an offer, it's like, that's awesome. But I mean, like, playing more so like I think practicing with my bandmates is like more akin to like playing when I was a kid than playing a show in front of people. Yeah, like, and I like trying to find things like that where I have people that, like, I want to be around them a lot, and I love laughing with them and like thinking of weird ideas with them, and using our imaginations. Like, I still like to use my imagination just to think of the crazy weird shit.
100%. I get obsessive sometimes, and it's been something I've had to try and curb. I'm in my early 40s, and I'm still dealing with this. But whether it was when I was writing sketch comedy, when I was in a band, working with writing partners and stuff like that, I'm like, we are doing this. We are doing this all the time. We are professionalizing this in some way. And I think it gets, when I was younger, it was too much. It was extra.
How so?
Because I was like, why are we not doing this all the time? When I was in a band, it was in college, and we were, kind of like getting...
You were like, why aren't we playing? Why can't we play?
We were getting slightly bigger. I'm like, we should do this for real. And my friend's like, I'm going to be a scientist. Yeah. No. And
okay,
it would take the air out of the room. I would be like, we should be doing this all the time. This is what we should be doing. We should be professionalizing it to the point where it suffocates the thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn after a certain point to, I can have that burning fire, that flame in my chest, but maybe I don't burn other people with it.
Yes. Yeah, keep it to yourself.
Tough. This is great. You have one life and you find a thing that is fun to do, that is meaningful, and that fulfills you. And you're like, I don't know. I don't want to sit here. Yeah, I love House Hunters International, but if I can be writing a song instead of, watching 100 episodes of, and there's 150, 60, 70 seasons of it, literally.
Yeah.
That's not hyperbole.
I find that so impressive.
They must film like 10 seasons at once.
Yeah, I think they have probably just permanent crews in every country.
Yeah. So I guess that's the thing, and I'm like, are you similar? Again, because you seem chill, but you also seem, I would say you write songs unless it just kind of comes natural to you. You write songs in the way that it seems like this is something that is constantly on your mind, right? You're not just tossing off garbage. You are writing. Does that make sense? Like you write songs, at least to me, where it seems like this is something that you are, that is a constant force within your brain or your body or however you locate it.
It's weird. It's like, it's something that I'm always thinking about, but I don't have the constant desire to be writing songs. Like, I have the constant desire to be observant enough to be able to maybe like capture moments for later for the song. Like, that's really the true desire, is like to be able to observe as many like amazing details about something that impacts me so that I don't forget about it, and so that I can write about it. And then if I feel like, if it's all coming together because I've been like diligent enough, like paying attention, then I feel like excited, like, okay, I've been paying attention enough. I like just using my eyes, nose, mouth, hands, like my senses to absorb things, and that is translating the way that I want it to.
Is there an example, something, I don't know, a song you've written recently or something from the new album or something like that, where you remember the actual experience that stuck in your brain and you're like, oh, I want to write a song?
Yes, I remember every single experience that made me want to write a song.
But can you just pick one randomly then? Like, what is, like, and what, just walk me through what was the experience and what stuck out to you where you're like, oh, this is going, I want to turn this into a song, or like, this is, I can't not think about this.
Well, like, Honey is the easiest example because I'm here again. Like, I wrote the song in Chile, and like the first lines of the song is like tar on the freeway, because I was noticing like the marks of tar on the freeway because my boyfriend has a motorcycle. So when you're on the motorcycle, you can see the ground, like the floor, the road better. And so I saw the like markings of the tar, and I was like, the markings of this tar looks like the graffiti that was done in these like weird abandoned beach houses. Have you seen those photographs? some guy went into these abandoned beach houses where there's all this like graffiti from these like random trespassers, and the tar looks like that. And so I noted that. And then like marks on the wall is the next line. There's like marks all over these walls. The walls are kind of dirty. And like then the rest like I'll be able to look back in my journal or something and into my brain, be like, okay, what's gonna flow out of these two visual like visual like portals. They're like little portals. And then the song is called Honey because we were always like melting honey to put on our pancakes because there's no maple syrup and like pancakes need to have a little sauce. And so yeah, like I don't know, melting the honey is like a nice metaphor. Not nice. I don't want to use the word nice, but like to me it's symbolized like apt metaphor for like having a routine.
Huh. Do you process things visually mostly, do you think?
Well, also I think flavors, like there's a lot of songs maybe where I'll mention like a texture or a flavor of something, but yeah, like visually most things that you see, everyone see, like this concept is so basic and like so like duh, but like yeah, everyone sees an object like their own way, so it's like this is a different metaphor for everyone.
Yes, you're holding up a spoon for the listener, but no, because I think I process things visually mostly, and then I was trying to describe something to my wife this morning, and I was trying to name an actor, and I could picture her in my head, but I couldn't summon her name. And I was just like describing all the stuff about her because I knew what she had done and all this other stuff. And just the verbal, there's like it's always been this way in my brain. I can picture it visually, but then the process of getting that, of turning that image into words is always labored. And the more caffeine I have in my system, the easier it is. But if I'm sitting and typing, if I'm writing something, the pipeline works perfectly. I don't know what it is about the verbal part where there's some kind of synapse that's just like kind of like twitching, not exactly doing it right. I don't know, whatever it is, right? I don't know what was actually going on in there. But that's why I'm always curious how other people process this stuff. So you kind of see these images and then you translate it into lyrics.
Yeah. Sometimes. Or like dreams are even crazier. That's like those are ready-made metaphors.
Like for me when I write lyrics, I just kind of like it's usually the music is first. And then I'm trying to just fit I'm like singing a melody, and then I'm trying to figure out the syllables. And then when I type it out or write it out in a notebook or something like that, then I'm able to like articulate actual words that kind of fit the scheme. But it rarely comes the other way, where I have to like have some kind of actual, what is it, scansion or something like that fits, that I have to then fit into or write music around. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't ever write like a poem.
Right.
And then be like, okay, gotta write the chords for this poem now. Like it just they do happen like at sort of the same time. And I've definitely used a thesaurus before.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to find like a word like that or a rhyming dictionary too, that you go to the syllables and you're like, damn, I can use a word that ends in Asian that has 8 syllables. Perfect. So sometimes that works really nicely.
Yeah.
But like, do you ever find though, like when you're writing, that that like maybe you had no idea what you were doing, but then by the end of the verse or the chorus, you're like, oh, like it tied itself up and put a little bow on its head.
Not anymore. I do that with scripts. When I write a script, by the time I'm getting towards the end of like a third draft, that I know that the feeling you're describing is where I get to there, where I'm like, oh, I understand what this thing is about. I've become, as an adult, quote unquote, in my 40s. I'm calling in my 40s being an adult. Like I was not before that. But in my early 40s, I'm going to keep stressing that early part. in my 40s, that I have come to writing music more intentionally. And I think it's because the last time I really wrote music in my 20s, I was really repressed. And now I can express myself, and I don't feel scared to be vulnerable or to write about. I don't have to hide how I'm feeling under layers of obscurity. I don't have to be like I mean, Steve Malkmus was like my idol,
and he writes the weirdest stuff.
But I don't get a sense of his emotions necessarily from that. I get a sense that he's detached.
Yeah. I think attempting to like put curtains or whatever, like,
yeah, that's a good
over
metaphor.
Over the like true sentiment isn't like necessarily a sign of repression. If you're just like this is something we kind of learned in art school, where you like, in order to, and it's not like I write songs to be so that they're palatable to the general populace, but like if you are able to like take a sentiment and like abstract it a little bit when you're going into critique, you will feel less like your heart is being ripped out of your chest and spat on when everyone's like, this isn't good. Like you haven't done this the right way. Like, for example, like, and it's not amazing to abstract your feelings, like if you're talking face to face with someone who you need to have a discussion with. But if you're just trying to play around with, like, you know, oh, I'm feeling shitty, let's play around with it. Like, it can be a fun little game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it could be an aesthetic choice. This is not the only reason why someone might write abstract lyrics, right? There's an aesthetic choice. Oh, I like the way this is. It could be the abstract. I'm feeling a genuine emotion, and this is what the abstract lyrics come out of. Like, I don't get for me, it was definitely, I was too scared to write something real. And so I would write abstract lyrics because I was too scared to write something honest. And some of those abstract lyrics did come out of an actual genuine emotion I was feeling, but I did not want anyone else to know what that emotion was. So you had to excavate. So if you're a listener,
yes,
you had to like get 1,000 shovels and start digging if you want to like kind of figure it out.
But that's nice. It gets the listener being like, wait. What did you just say?
Yeah, like again, this is not accusatory towards Steve Malkmus. I love his lyrics. I just I don't know if I get a sense of him from his lyrics.
What?
I get a sense of his sense of humor, perhaps, like that he enjoys irony and wordplay.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
but you don't know what he goes to therapy for.
Right, exactly. Whereas like you put someone like Ben Gibbard, like I think I kind of know him.
I don't know who that is.
Death Cab for Cutie guy.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, what is When Soul Meets Body about?
My guess is it's someone close to him was dying.
Oh.
But he also, like, this is the other thing that I think I've had to contend with as I got older, was that when people are writing songs, they can write it about characters. I always thought that when a singer-songwriter wrote a song, it was about their own personal experience.
Yeah.
And then I saw some interview with Ben Gibbard where he was just like, oh yeah, I just, this is a character I thought was interesting to write about. It's like, what? You can do that?
Well, you never know. Maybe he's just saying that because he doesn't want to, he's too repressed.
That it could be, and it could be a thing that you're repressed in your normal life, but somehow you are allowed, like, the music is the one avenue where you let yourself open up. And so
yes,
that is a more truthful version of who you are in some way.
Yes.
But I asked this because it seems like you take from your actual life and you put it through a machine in your brain, in your body, through your hands or whatever, right? That then converts that experience into something aesthetic, as opposed to self-generating, like, oh, I wonder what this character is like.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happens when you want to, maybe when you stop having, like, really pressing internal feelings. Like, remember when, like, the Beatles started writing Have You Seen the Little Piggies?
Was that like a White Album era?
Yeah. Or, like, all these names, like, start appearing in the songs, whereas before it was like you, me, you, them, he, her, she,
yes.
me,
and then
you.
suddenly it's Eleanor Rigby and it's lovely Rita Metermaid.
Yeah, like, they're imagining fantastical scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, they were also, on 5,000 tabs of acid at that point, but
yeah.
But okay, so last question then. What is it in you that made you even want to express yourself? Like, you could like music, you could write it, you didn't have to release it. I think about this a lot with my guests. What is the thing that's in you where you're like, no, I want other people to hear this?
It wasn't that I wanted other people to hear it, but I wanted to, like, literally, I would walk to school in grade 8 and I listened to Room on Fire. You know Room on Fire.
I'm nodding. I'm pretending like I know.
The Strokes.
I heard the Strokes' first album. I remember liking the Strokes. I was at the right age for the Strokes' first album.
And then they made their second album. You're like,
yeah, I just kind of, like, my taste changed at that point. There was nothing wrong with their second album. I just know that my taste changed. And then I moved to New York, and that whole scene had died by that point.
Oh. And you weren't going to pick up the ashes and put them in your ear.
What was going on in the, like, 2009, 2010?
LCD Sound System?
Yeah, see, that wasn't that.
I don't know.
That was a band that I never really checked out.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But I listened to the Strokes' Room on Fire every day while I was walking to school for a while. And I would, like, every day pick out a different instrument to listen to and, like, marvel at, because they really intertwine really well. And I love the way Julian Casablancas, like, sings and, like, puts the harmonies on top of the instrumentation. And so, like, the only thing that I was thinking, aside from being really, like, amazed, was I just want to, like, be able to make something that sounds this awesome. Like, I've heard so many people that I've seen their face, like, I know who they are, make music, and I've loved some of it, and I've been like, what is this? To some of it. Like, and I just want to, like, impress myself by, like, making something that I would like to listen to.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, that's the same thing that's in me. I think there's a lot of people want to make art because they want to connect. I mean, lot of people are egomaniacs or narcissists or whatever, right? There's that. But I think a lot of the stuff that I do personally is because I didn't see it in the world and I want to see something like that in the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really, really resonates with me.
Cool.
Yeah. So
we are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, I think so. So then what was the actual, like, what was the first thing you did where you're like, oh, this is finally the, if not the fruition of that idea, this is the like start of that, where I've finally done something like that I've wanted to see in the world that hasn't existed before?
It was when I was like first writing music in high school, and I made a song that I was like, oh, I want to listen to that again. Like, it's Amy W. Mm-hmm. So Amy W is on the new album, but I made it, I think I looked up when Amy Winehouse passed away, 2011. Mm-hmm. So I made that song, and like, it sounds like the demo the version that I made is like the first song that I made that I was like, I really like this.
Yeah. And then it started, like, I know something's good when I can't, when it's if it's a song, when it's going around in my head constantly and I can't stop thinking about it, or if I'm writing a script or something like that and it's 2 a.m. and I'm trying to get to sleep and I can imagine the characters, like, then I know it's that's the thing that I wanted to do.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's totally it. They're like living. They're alive.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
What a delight.
Yes, truly.
And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, oh, 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 bye.